In this video, I will help you understand the fascinating journey of self-knowledge, what it is and how it can help you develop both an aware and resilient mindset, enabling you to navigate life with integrity, regardless of what events unfold around you. You will learn about two fundamental tools to achieve this: meditation and the Enneagram. We all long to discover who we are, to find ourselves, and to take our place in the world. But many of us don't know how to go about it. Human beings are a mystery to ourselves. Only by delving deep within can we achieve what Jung defined as becoming oneself, or becoming who you are meant to be. It's about questioning the so-called collective unconscious. It's the journey or process of challenging all the beliefs with which we have been conditioned and programmed by society, generation after generation, throughout our lives. It's about shedding all those beliefs that distance us from our being and the essence of our own truth, our essence, and true self. On this path, it's about discovering our greatness of spirit, our luminous part, our light, and all those strengths, qualities, and talents that are part of our being. But it's also about discovering and becoming aware of our shadow, that dark side of the ego, that mental construct, that persona shaped and adapted to the context and circumstances in which we have developed. Marcel Proust said, "The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes," which means, although nothing changes, if I change, everything changes. Self-knowledge is a journey that invites you to undergo a psychological process of introspection, of looking inward, to understand who you truly are, how you function and what you need to be genuinely happy. Ultimately, it's about shedding, as much as we can, limitations, shortcomings, and frustrations, overcoming what makes us uncomfortable, what we condemn, and what we reject. It's about understanding the world and ourselves so that we can finally accept it. Getting to know oneself is often a painful process because it involves questioning and confronting our ignorance and unconsciousness, and often, our mediocrity. But ultimately, it turns out to be a liberating process of understanding and, eventually, accepting oneself and one's surroundings and circumstances. Once you know yourself, understand yourself, and accept yourself, you come to love yourself for who you truly are, to love your uniqueness. And from there, true self-love will emerge. And when you change, everything changes. You no longer need others to change, nor do you need your environment and circumstances to change. Observing the mind, our own thoughts, with detachment, without believing everything we think, but questioning all that drifts thoughtlessly through our mind, ultimately leads us to change our attitude and approach to life. It helps us find the longed-for peace amid the turmoil that modern life has become. And even beyond the individual, Carl Jung's book, The Undiscovered Self, tells us that to address the great problems we face as humanity, we must focus on the psychological transformation of the individual. Only when we individually integrate our own shadow and become who we truly are can we build a world that reflects that inner psychic balance. For Jung, the solution to collective conflicts lies in the inner revolution of the individual. Today, we live in what is called the information age, which, paradoxically, has become the period of greatest confusion in history. We feel bombarded by a torrent of daily information that we can hardly assimilate and even less discern for its accuracy. Life has become too complicated and moves too fast, leaving us no time for reflection. It's a kind of chaotic labyrinth in which we find ourselves trapped and confused, leading us to act on autopilot, disconnected, as we explored in the video on mindfulness practice, among others. What often happens when we fail repeatedly in our various life goals, such as in the case of relationships or entrepreneurship, is that the root cause is often a lack of wise or optimal vision. The issue might be following a completely wrong approach due to a deep misunderstanding of how things actually work. And in the end, life proves to be very fair and teaches us through harsh realities. This is what makes you keep bumping into reality without realizing which stone you keep tripping over. It's about discovering and becoming aware of our shadow, that dark side of the ego, that mental construct, that persona shaped and adapted to the context and circumstances in which we have developed. And how do we transcend the ego? By questioning our limiting beliefs and rationalizing the foundations of the principles and values on which we base our lives, which often lead us to live on autopilot. We need to stop following established patterns without questioning them and start finding more natural solutions. One of the things that self-knowledge personality psychology teaches us is that each of us is different, with our own individualities, and therefore, each of us will need a remedy tailored to our unique way of being. So, one of the first things to work on in personal development is understanding that you are a unique person with your own particular circumstances. As Ortega and Gasset said, "I am myself and my circumstance, but you are yourself and your circumstance." From there, by understanding your nature and personality, you can come to understand and accept yourself as a human being. Start discerning what works for you and what doesn't. This will help you bring natural order to your life. It's about organizing those aspects that need organization. Begin to have an objective understanding of yourself and start making changes so that they align with your nature. Stop going against yourself and start moving in harmony with yourself, because ultimately, you either build yourself up or tear yourself down. If what you've been doing doesn't make you feel good, if you feel like something is missing, it's time to make a series of decisions and changes. Obviously, if you keep doing the same things, you'll get more of the same. Therefore, you need to analyze the different areas of your life and see if you're being consistent with your inner self. Only in this way will you find peace with yourself. It's about not dedicating our lives to becoming someone we are not essentially, but rather to developing the best version of ourselves, the true self. And stop falling into the trap of chasing after carrots, falling into the trap of consumerism, believing that you need things such as a lot of money or power to be happy, living the lives of others, pursuing goals to satisfy unfounded desires. Stop using what seems to have worked for others and find what truly works for you. Act with wisdom, intelligence, and congruence. Get out of autopilot mode. Once again, moving beyond the pretty poetry with which we're bombarded by the positive thinking of Mr. Wonderful who leads the personal development market and marketing today. That magical thinking that you have unlimited potential, that anything you dream of is within your reach, and that you should just chase your dreams, blah blah blah. We're going to talk about what truly works in personal development across different life contexts. We'll stop acting thoughtlessly, following naive fashion trends, and question whether inherited standard patterns work for us, as they often keep the majority immersed in great confusion. We are witnessing various existential crises, such as the rise in separations and divorces in the West, as we explored in the video on mindful love. We are also facing a historical period with an unprecedented suicide rate and a tremendous consumption of medication to cope with anxiety, depression, and stress, the major afflictions plaguing the West today. Well, on this channel, we advocate for an objective, realistic, and adaptive vision of life, developed through the meticulous study of ancient philosophy, inherited from the great philosophers, scientists, and psychologists throughout history, and more recently as well. Understanding who we are, as well as what our circumstances are. The ability to adjust our nature to our circumstances. Overcoming the habitual arrogance that often accompanies us, the pretense of being in possession of the truth, and our inability to question beliefs. This only leads us to live in the deepest ignorance, with no other outcome but the fatal consequence of stress and the irrationality in which current generations are immersed. The world is far from ideal. In fact, it seems we are entering one of the most dystopian and incomprehensible periods in history. The cure can only come through raising awareness and the subsequent acceptance of the inescapable reality. Knowing ourselves and honoring our essence through our life purposes and the creation of truly meaningful connections, far from the superficial relationships we often experience today, are key to our journey toward connecting with ourselves, our essence, and with others. This is essential to overcoming the deeply egocentric society we live in. Throughout history, various philosophers have highlighted the importance of understanding our nature and living in accordance with it. Darwin taught us that those who adapt, the most adaptable individuals, are the ones who evolve. The Stoics spoke to us about the importance of accepting things as they are and the significance of adapting to reality. In this sense, aligning your expectations with your possibilities, your goals with your abilities, and who you are with how you live is essential. In this way, you can find a partner who matches your way of being and living, know what kind of partner is right for you, what job suits you, and what home is best for you. All of this should align with what you enjoy and what makes you feel connected. A wise person would tell you that you need to be very aware of both your qualities and your limitations. You must be able to recognize this and avoid the self-deception of living with false expectations. It's common to encounter very frustrated individuals in a psychologist's office. We can discuss 3 common reasons for this. Firstly, many people find themselves immersed in deep confusion because they believe they have done what they were supposed to in life. However, they barely realize that their frustration stems from having lived in self-deception, where we often create our own narrative with a story that turns out to be dysfunctional and clearly ineffective. This narrative has shaped our strategies and efforts without adapting to the true reality of things, leading to failure in relationships, jobs, or any other life endeavors. Secondly, another common source of immense frustration is not aligning expectations with what we would like to do and what we are actually capable of doing. This gap is especially fueled by the fantasies promoted by the positive philosophy and psychology trends which dominate the current personal development market. The truth is that as beings with great potential and given abilities, but with varying potentials, one for each human being, one of the keys to success and happiness in life is to understand both our strengths and our limitations. This is fundamental when assessing our true potential and is crucial for establishing a personal development plan. And we can talk about a third common cause of frustration: the insistence on changing things that are beyond our control. This includes our obsession with idealism and perfectionism about how the world or other people should be. It is essential to understand that there are things within our control and things outside of our control. By recognizing this distinction, we can focus our energy on what we can change and find peace in accepting what we cannot. Distinguishing between what is under our control and what is not is key to directing our energies towards what we can change and accepting what we cannot change to avoid frustration. If we manage to identify the ethical principles and natural laws governing human functioning and live in a rational way aligned with human nature, we will likely fare better than merely adapting to social patterns and conventions, which are often the result of interests and power struggles throughout history. In this context, I recommend the Enneagram as one of the most powerful tools for self-knowledge, introspection, and personal development. It is an ancient tool that enjoys broad scientific support and is studied in universities, having gained popularity in recent years to the point of being used in various contexts, such as in psychology and psychiatry consultations, as well as in film, HR, leadership training, team building, and sales. It is a tool that should be taught from primary education today. It will function as a map, compass, or spiritual guide. It is a personality identification system that teaches us 9 patterns regarding how our personality functions, as well as how personal relationships work. From this knowledge, we will have a very accurate map of our acquired conditioning, as well as how we can compensate for these limitations and deficiencies. It is a self-awareness tool that essentially serves as a map to guide us through our own inner landscape, helping us discover both our shadow side and our bright side. It's a personality map. However, the map is not the territory. It serves as a guide and reference, much like using a map when you're in a new city until you know it well enough to navigate without guidance. But there comes a moment when you can let go of the map, because even if you get lost in this city many times, you'll already know how to find your way back to the center. The same happens with our personality and our inner territory. Fundamentally, it outlines 9 personality types, 9 mental models or psychological frameworks. Among them, one will dominate in each person, with greater or lesser influence from the other models. We will explore this tool in other videos. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it helpful. If you liked it, please give it a like. I would love to hear from you. See you in the next video.